Good evening, everyone. This is Atmospheric Alex here, and welcome back to another U.S. weather forecast, outlook, and discussion. This will be yet another urgent update on our potentially historic winter storm coming up for portions of the central U.S. and for the southern U.S. as well. Even points further off to the north as well is going to be experiencing this winter storm, as we have been seeing models trending north throughout today, and that trend will it continue? Well, we're just going to have to wait and see. So as we currently get started with our analysis data here, you can see we do have a lot of snow flying around up north right now, around the Great Lakes and into Canada. Also along in your northeast as well, we're talking about some snow. And even something sliding through the Chicago area. You're probably going to start seeing some flakes very, very soon. And really nothing else besides that, just some rain across the southeast as well. Kind of a miserable day out there, if you ask me. Here is our alert map, and as you can clearly see, we are going to be dealing with a very serious situation. We have got winter storm watches lining up the entirety of the south and the southern United States. Look at those watches. Look at how large that swath is right there. And that's going to be about our major winter storm coming up. Also, across the northern U.S., we have extreme cold warnings and watches in effect for all the cold air that's going to be moving in. And we do even have a stray teeny tiny blizzard warning still in effect. Isn't that crazy? Look at that, more alerts being issued as I'm making the video. Isn't that crazy? So all this is in real time. Before we move on to all that, we need to skim through our key messages really quickly. We're talking about a significant winter storm, obviously. An expansive winter storm will produce widespread heavy snow, sleet, and freezing rain from the southern Rockies and Plains and Mid-South starting Friday and going into the East Coast this weekend, maybe lingering for New England. Extreme cold will be occurring as well. Heavy snow. Heavy snow accumulations are likely in a large swath. A large area, right? From the southern Rockies and Plains eastward to the Mid-Atlantic and then to New England. Local maxima above 12 inches are becoming more likely. Over a foot of snow for quite a lot of areas, folks. That's pretty crazy wording, isn't it? Snow-covered roads and low visibility will cause widespread travel disruptions, and we already know that. Dangerous ice. Broad swaths of significant accumulations of freezing, rain, and sleet are expected. That is quite dangerous, isn't it? South of the all-snow zone from the southern plains, lower Mississippi Valley, Mid-South, and Carolinas. Treacherous travel conditions, prolonged power outages, and tree damage are likely. That's something to note. And there is a ton of forecast uncertainty. Confidence is high that a significant storm will occur, but not on specific details for the storm track, timing, and precipitation amounts. Start preparations now for an impactful and prolonged winter storm and keep up to date with the forecast. I rarely have ever seen them use this wording before. Start preparations now. This is a pretty big deal, folks. You can see it on our graphics on the side here. Moderate snow impacts all throughout portions of your central plains to your Ohio Valley into your Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and moderate ice impacts through portions of your Southeast and Mississippi Valley. This is looking very serious. Now, here's a nice look at your European model here as it's running through. You can see impacts, again, are going to start tomorrow night, but it really won't be until Saturday. Look at all that freezing rain. Look at all that snow. It is going to be crazy out there. Very heavy icing potentially moving into Arkansas, Mississippi, portions of West Tennessee, probably most likely southwestern Tennessee. But then look at the swath of snow. Absolutely crazy. Here we have a second round of snow back here, but the European not so keen on that really sticking around. It's interesting. Our GFS really wants our second round to hit hard, but our European model not sold on it for some reason. So that's something to really watch. And again, note how far north your European model is. And as we head on off further to the east here, from our European model. You can see we do start as a moderate to heavy snow across northwestern Tennessee. Places like Martin, you're probably going to be seeing an absolute pounding of snow as we head into Saturday evening and do maybe early portions of Saturday night before having some issues with the wintry mix. I'm not really sold on it being as much of an issue as the European model shows it. But we're going to have to wait and see. Heavy icing ongoing. Look at that swath of icing across Mississippi into portions of West Tennessee. That is going to be very serious. Your cold air damming regions, East Tennessee is going to see some freezing rain. Look at all your snow up here across the Midwest and Ohio Valley. It is going to be very impactful indeed. Very amped up system here in your European could shift south over time. And yeah, we're talking about a ton of freezing rain here across Virginia, North Carolina, portions of South Carolina. In your CAD regions, you're going to have a lot of cold air damming, a lot of northeast flow, behind your Appalachian Mountains. That's going to be funneling in a lot of surface cold air. That's going to really contribute to higher ice amounts. Maybe even catastrophic ice amounts are going to be possible. It does look like Atlanta may miss the worst of it. That's good news, but lots of icing. Holy smokes, even moving into portions of the mid-Atlantic. That is going to be a serious concern. On your GFS model here, it does show a slightly different output. You can see tons of moderate to heavy snow breaking out as we head into Saturday morning, so our timing is definitely different. Try to show your precipitation running ahead of schedule. A lot of sleet in between, though the GFS is notorious for over-exaggerating sleet totals. I've seen this way too many times. No, you're not going to get 7 inches of sleet. That is stupid. This model's not going to verify. But then you can see our second piece of energy. Notice this, all right? Our European model kind of has a big swath of snow, kind of a one-and-done scenario. But your GFS has a second piece of energy right here, kind of moving up in this general direction right here. And if we can see enough precipitation back build here, we could maybe be talking about higher snowfall totals for areas that weren't expecting it. Look at that. Southeastern Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, getting absolutely blasted with snow, and your freezing rain going really far south, but not a forecast, believe it or not. As we head further on off to the east here, very heavy snow across West Tennessee on this run of the GFS. Holy cow. Dark blue colors showing up. Even starting as snow for East Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. That is a very intense swath of snow moving through as we head into Saturday afternoon and evening. And then you can see your freezing rain further to the south. Absolutely destructive ice storm here for East Tennessee on the GFS model. I do not expect that to verify, but you're still going to see significant icing in some areas. And man, that CAD right there, that cold air damming is way more significant on this run of the GFS, on this model in particular. Pushes your CAD all the way down here and could even go further south. I would like to note how the global models underestimate the CAD at times. And look at this sting, all snow for Martin, Tennessee. That is really remarkable there. Again, I don't really believe that's going to happen. I do think we're going to see an intermittent switch back to a wintry mix, maybe then back to snow, then back to a wintry mix, and so on and so forth, kind of at times throughout the system. But look at that, tons of snow across the board, tons of ice, even snow on the back end of North Carolina. That's very unrealistic at this time. That's a huge honkin' storm from your GFS. Your RRFS model here shows a much different output, and this is kind of a far northern end scenario. If, say, everything goes wrong, your system tracks too far north, what's going to happen? Look at all that icing across West Tennessee. This would be pretty destructive for some areas in here. Now, again, the RRFS is definitely out to lunch with this scenario. The winter storm is not going to be in the Midwest. It'll be in Ohio Valley, upper south to southeast ordeal, more than likely. But you can see, wow, crippling ice totals there. Your CAD not as strong, but this is just not a forecast. RRFS, new model, experimental, and is honestly quite inaccurate if you ask me. How about your potential snow accumulations from your European model here? Do not take this as a forecast, please. But you can see, look at this footprint here of snow, really intense. Look at that. upwards of, 11 to almost 12 inches in portions at Kansas. That is crazy. Oklahoma getting in on the action too. Arkansas, almost 20 inches. Holy smokes, in northern Arkansas. That is not a forecast. We're actually a little too far out to be saying stuff like that as of now. And then a little bit further south into Texas could see some snow. And for more of your eastern portions here, you can see your highest snow mean just barely misses Martin. It is going to be a sharp cutoff line, I do believe, between a ton of snow and really no snow and ice. That is what we're watching out for there. Kentucky gets absolutely blasted. Look at that, 16 to 18 inches on this latest European model run. And look at that, getting really far north, Indianapolis around 10 inches, going up into Ohio, into Pennsylvania, getting crushed with snow. This, I think, is a little bit out to lunch in terms of your northern extremities. I do think this will continue to trend a little further south over the next few model runs, as our main low pressure system on the European model is phasing with two other areas of lower pressure. That's probably not going to happen. That's a bit unrealistic. So I actually think we could trend closer to the GFS, or at least some point in between the GFS and the European as our final outcome. Our GFS, speaking of which, does show a ton of snow. Look at this here. Again, it comes in two well-defined bona fide waves here. Look at across portions of Oklahoma, a lot further south. Kansas, on your European model, you're seeing almost a foot of snow. On this model, only 3 to 5 inches. So that's very interesting. And I really do think the GFS is a better handle. I'm just going to throw it out there. I know it's crazy. I said how you should be throwing it in the trash can yesterday, but maybe it has something going for it for the system. We'll see. Around 16 to 20 inches for central Arkansas. Not a forecast. That is insane. As we quickly head on over to our eastern sections here, look at all that snow. Holy cow, 16 to 18 inches in West Tennessee. Martin, oh my gosh, you would be crushed by snow in this model run. Not a forecast. Again, GFS, a little too far south in my liking. But look at that. Look at this. Almost 2 feet of... Yeah, no. No, that is completely unrealistic. That's unrealistic as well. I do believe the track is pretty realistic, but your amounts are way too inflated, and I just don't think we're going to see 2 feet of snow from a system like this, at least not yet. Your European ensemble goes somewhat like this. Wow, Arkansas, nearly a foot of snow here on your ensemble. Portions of Oklahoma really cashing in as well. As we move further off to the east here, look at that line. Oh man, just north of Martin there. That is really going to stink. I hope that moves a little bit further south because I really want the snow, and I know a lot of you all do as well for some of my hyper-localized folks. And you can see that swath of snow, a little too far north for my liking, but we're going to have to wait and see. Around 10 to 12 inches in that area there. And then, of course, over here goes absolutely bananas in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Northern Virginia. DC, could we see a ton of snow? You're going to have to wait and see. Your GFS ensemble is way too weak. 6 inches. That's it. Yeah, so it's interesting, right? Our main GFS model is probably onto something a little bit. Our GFS ensemble, though, a lot of uncertainty still. I'm not entirely sure what's been going on here. If I had more time, I'd show you the panels of the individual members, but this is kind of pathetic. Take a look at this, though. We're still talking about an absolute crushing of snow in Northern Virginia, and I think that's going to hold Central Kentucky. I also think that's going to hold lots of snow in those areas, but getting kind of skipped for some other areas. I'm not sure why. Your national blend of all models does suggest this, and it is very, very, very far north for some reason. Look at that. Snow for days up here in Kansas. We're talking around a foot of snow being possible. Snow, of course, in Oklahoma. And then, again, I don't know about this. 4 inches in Chicago? No, there is absolutely no way. Not from this kind of system, there's not. I mean, I think the NBM is just absolutely lost its mind. It's usually one of the most accurate models. This go around, womp, no, I really don't think so. Not this time, that's for sure. And wow, I mean, it really just shows that sharp cutoff there, and snow going into the northeast. Now, if we take a look at our latest NBM, kind of like, I think this is our AI NBM. I know it's the parallel, so I know it's a newer one. This looks a lot better. That snow swath I can get behind. That is a little bit further south. I do think that's where models will mainly be trending, but still a little bit low in some of these areas potentially. But the Northeast, wow, still dealing with a lot. Our freezing rain is going to be a major concern. Here is your latest European model in terms of this, and it paints an ugly picture. Look at that. 2 inch. Oh, apologies for that. The cover of my light just fell off and blinded me right in the eyes. That was very unpleasant. But, anyways, you can see, yeah, 2 inches of ice. Holy cow. No, the European model is really inflating this. I do believe an inch of ice is possible, but 2, no. Probably not going to happen for a lot of areas, but still very crippling ice totals. West Tennessee, yeah, you're going to have to start preparing for ice instead of snow for quite a few areas, unfortunately. You got to be very vigilant for these northern trends, and ice, in my opinion, and in everyone else's opinion for the most part, is way worse than snow. Travel will be impossible in these conditions, folks. Now, across portions further east here, wow, I mean, this just isn't any better. Look at across Virginia, North Carolina, 1.5 inches. Luckily, these amounts have really downtrended from yesterday, but still, we are talking about a lot of ice across these areas here. Very, very interesting for sure. And again, it's crazy though, right? And I'm going to say, remember yesterday's video when the icing was like all the way down here? What happened, right? These northern shifts, I mean, we're talking about almost just plain rain now for East Tennessee in some areas. Wow, I mean, we're talking last night we had some really extreme northern shifts in the models. That has really not came back down south again, so for you all winter weather lovers in East Tennessee, that is just a punch in the guts for you all. Yeah, I mean, you are practically promised a major winter storm, maybe even a major snowstorm for that matter. I don't think you're really going to get it anymore, and that hurts. That really does. I understand that feeling a lot. And quickly glossing over our NBM here in terms of our icing, yeah, you can see our northward extent of our freezing rain all the way up here. So, it's very interesting, though the southern extent here, honestly, we're going to go to this instead. Honestly, I'm going to be honest, completely disregard the southern extent of this model. It is going to be completely wrong in terms of how far south the icing goes. Just kind of pay attention to these amounts here. Around 3/4 of an inch of ice is going to cause a ton of issues, and that's what you need to know. Again, could we see localized pockets of 1 inch? Definitely a possibility. Now, lastly but not leastly, we're going to have some really cold temperatures spilling into the U.S. Here is your National Weather Service's temperature forecast here, and look at this. Talking about -30, nearly -40 degrees, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota. I went over this in yesterday's video. You can see creeping into Wisconsin there. It is going to be freezing cold, and look at this. This is really astonishing, guys. This is really astonishing. Look at how far south your negative line gets. Anything kind of in your teal colors here is a negative temperature reading for Monday morning. Negative temperatures all the way down to West Tennessee, like northern Mississippi, even portions of northern Texas could get into the negatives. That is very, very serious, and your snow cover causes your temperatures to stay cold for a long amount of time. And as we head into kind of like a zoomed in look at your wind chills here, this is very important. Wind chills around -50 up there. Holy smokes. That is unsurvivable, folks. Please do not be going outside. And just look at this continuing here. Look at that down here at your minimum, -60 degrees. Wow, that is in portions of northern North Dakota and portions of northern Minnesota. It's going to be freezing up there. I mean, freezing is an understatement. It's going to be an ice block for sure. Your ground is going to be totally frozen. Yeah, -60 degree wind chills being possible up there. And then heading further off to the south, does it get any better? Not really. I mean, wind chills in Texas. Wind chills in Texas and Oklahoma. -10 to -15 degrees. Folks, Do you remember 2021? That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to go into any more detail. However, please let your faucets drip overnight. You do not want your pipes exploding. Speaking of exploding, we're probably going to be seeing some exploding trees across portions. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, right? Across portions of your northern US. Again, your water is going to be freezing and expanding rapidly, and that will cause your trees to essentially explode. So if you live in a forested area, you need to prepare for that. That could be a big time problem for you all. And oh my gosh, negative 20-degree wind chills potentially for Martin as we head into Monday morning. Wow, this is unprecedented historic cold, folks. I do not like the looks of this at all. This just continues. Negative 10 the next morning after. This is very dangerous. Holy cow. With that being said, thank you all so much for tuning into today's video. Hope you found this video informative and maybe even a bit life-saving. Like I said, this is an exceptionally rare event, folks. You do not typically see events like this too often. They've happened in the past, but it seems like we're getting to a bit of a colder pattern now, if you will. Alright, smash that like button if you found this video informative, life-saving, and even subscribe to my little corner of the weather community. Leave a comment in the section below, and feel free, or actually no, you should share this with friends and family and as many people as possible on social media. You need to spread the word. This is a very serious, exceptional event. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Stay exceptionally, extraordinarily weather aware, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.